We continue now at the top of Daf Tzadiyam and Beis in Meseches Bava Kamma. This is Bava Kamma Daf 90b. On the previous summit, the Mishnah gave various amounts that a person has to pay for different kinds of boshes, different kinds of humiliation. And now the Mishnah says, Zeh HaKlal, this is the rule, HaKol Lefi Kavodu, it all goes according to the level of the person's honor. In other words, boshes depends on the people that are involved. And Rashi over here notes, Zeh HaKlal, HaKol Lefi Kavodu, it all goes in accordance with the person's respect. The Gemara Mefarsh, the Gemara will explain, Kula hi o chumra, is this a leniency or a stringency, meaning we just gave set amounts? Are we trying to say that sometimes it could be more? Are we trying to say that sometimes it can be less? That will be discussed in the Gemara. And the Mishnah continues, Amar Rabbi Akiva says, Afilu aniyim shabi Yisrael, even the poor ones of Klal Yisrael, ro'en osam, ki iluhem b'nei chorin sheyardu min nechseim. We view them as though they were free people who descended from their property, meaning who were at one point in time, who had wealth, and now they're no longer wealthy. We don't just view them as lowly poor people, shehem b'nei Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yakov, because they are children of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And the Mishnah continues, there was an incident where one person uncovered the head of a woman in the marketplace. She came before Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva said the person who did this is chayiv to give her 400 zuz, as we said before in the Mishnah on the previous Amud. Amar lo, so he said to him, Rebbe, 10 lizman, he said to Rabbi Akiva, give me some time. V'nasan lo zman, Rabbi Akiva gave him some time. Shamra omedes al pesach hatzeira. And Rashi over here explains, Shamra himtin law. What happened was he waited for her at Sherasa Omedes al Pesach Hatzeira until he saw that this woman was standing at the entrance of her chutzner, at the entrance of her courtyard. And what did he do when he saw this woman? V'shavar sakad b'foneh, and then he broke a pitcher in front of her. Ubo ke'isr shemen, and in there was an isser's worth of shemen, of oil. Rashi says it was oil that was bought for an isser. The point is that some of the oil spilled out. So Gil says Rosha, so she uncovered her head, and then she was dipping in the oil, she was putting it on her head, essentially anointing with the oil, and she essentially did to herself what he did to her. And so therefore, Hamid Oleo Adam, so therefore he stood up Adam over there to witness the incident. Ubal Lifnei Rabbi Akiva, and he came before Rabbi Akiva, and Amarle said to him, Lazu ani nosen dalid meo zuz, to this woman I have to pay 400 zuz. Doesn't make sense. She doesn't care at all. She does the same thing to herself. Amar Le, Rabbi Akiva said back to him, Lo Amr Klum, you're not saying anything. That argument that you're making is not worth anything, because Hachovil bi'atzmo, because let's say somebody injures himself. Afa pisheino rasha, even though it's not permissible, Potter, but he's still exempt. And Acherim shechavlu bo, yet if other people injure him, Chayavim, they are Chayiv. And so therefore you see, we do make a distinction between the person himself or other people doing it to him. And similarly, Vakotzes netios, of somebody who cuts down the young saplings, Afa pisheino rasha, even though he's not allowed, Potter, he is exempt, but Acherim Chayavim. But if others do it, they're chayiv, and therefore your argument is not correct in this case. You are obligated to give the money. And Rashi explains, even though a person is not permitted to injure himself, the Gemara will explain, also if somebody's cutting down the young trees, that's not permitted, that's a transgression of baltashchis, chayavin. So then again, if other people do it, they are chayiv. What do they pay? Netiyah bashan, if it's a year-old tree, so shtei kesef, the payment is 2 kesef, 2 silver coins, kedamar b'hakonis, like it says in hakonis. And the Gemara says, they had the following question, Monet Suri Tnan, when it mentions a Mon in the Mishnah, again talking about the payment for Boshes, is that a Monet Suri or Monet Medina Tnan, or is that referring to a Monet Medina? And Rashi explains, Monet Suri, what's a Monet Suri? Chafei Slime, that's 25 slime, Kuf Zuz, which is 100 Zuz. And so therefore, if 25 slime is 100 Zuz, what that means is that each Sela is 4 Zuz when you're talking about the Monet Suri. And Monet Medina is Shminis Shebe Monet Suri, that's actually 1/8 of a Monet Suri, it's 1/8 of the value, and therefore Sela Shel Medina. So if you have a Sela of the Medina, that's only Chatzi Zuz, that's a half a Zuz. Again, a Sela Tsuri is going to be 4 Zuz, 1/8 of 4 is going to be half a Zuz, that's a Sela Medina. We want to know exactly what we're discussing over here in terms of the payment. And the Gemara says, Tashma, come and hear the following proof, that hu gavra de takale lechavre, there was a person who struck his friend, asa lekame de Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, he came before Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya to see what would be collected for this. Amar Lei said to him, ha'ana ha-Rabbi Yossi Haglili, there is myself, and there is Rabbi Yossi Haglili. Rabbi Yossi Haglili in the Mishnah, of course, is the one that said that by tokei lechavero, the payment is a monah, and so then he said, havle monet suri, therefore, because of Rabbi Yossi Haglili, you have to give him a monet suri. And the Gemara says, Shema Mina, we see from this, monet suri tanan, that in the Mishnah we're talking about a monet suri, and the Gemara says, Shema Mina, indeed we do see that this is the case. But the Gemara wants to know, what did he mean when he said, ha'ano ha-Rabbi Yossi Haglili? My ha'ano ha-Rabbi Yossi Haglili, what does that statement mean, that here I am and here's Rabbi Yossi Aglili. If you're going to say what it means is that he was saying to him as follows: here's me, I witnessed the event. Rabbi Yossi Aglili, and this is Rabbi Yossi Aglili's opinion, the Amar Monet Suri, because Rabbi Yossi Aglili says the payment for such a situation is a Monet Suri. Zil Havle Monet Suri, so go give him a Monet Suri. If you're going to say that's what he meant, so then L'meimra the Eid Nasadayin, does that mean to say that a witness can be a judge? Because it sounds like he's saying, I witnessed what happened, and now I am ruling as follows, they have to pay a Monet Suri. That would imply that he holds Eid Nasadayin. Vatanya, but we learned in a brisa, Sanhedrin Sharo Echot Shahara Gasanefesh. Let's say the Sanhedrin sees somebody kill somebody else. Miksasan Nasu Eidim, so some of them become witnesses. Miksasan Nasu Dayanim, and some of them become judges. Divrei Rabbi Tarfon, that's the opinion of Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Akiva says, Kulam Eidim Haim, they're all witnesses. V'ein Eid Nasa Dayan, and a witness cannot become a judge. Now clearly Rabbi Akiva is saying that a witness cannot become a judge, but the Gemara says even Rabbi Tarfon, Adkan Lo Kam Rabbi Tarfon Ela de Miksasan Nasu Eidim, Umiksasan Nasu Dayanim. Rabbi Tarfon only went so far as to say that some of them become Eidim and some of them become Dayan and become judges. Avol Eid Nasa Dayan Lo Kamar, but even he didn't say that an Eid can actually be a Dayan, and so this clearly goes against this incident we had above, where the response of Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya is that I am an Eid, I'm also going to be the judge. If that's what he's saying, it seems to go against the Brisa. And the Gemara says, Kitanya Hino, what's that Brisa referring to? When the Brisa says, by this case of the Sanhedrin, Ein Eid Nasa Dayan, that's Kagon Sharo Belayla, that's if they witness the event happen at night. So there they're not able to convene a court at night. Court can only convene during the daytime. So there we would say that an Eid is not able to be a Dayan, but in a situation where it happens in the middle of the day, so then the witnessing of the event can be as though they are judges that are receiving, it's just as if they're receiving a report, a witnessed report of what happened. Instead, they are the witnesses, and there maybe we would say Eid Nasa Dayan, and that's what's happening in this case. And the Gemara says another explanation of what Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya was saying. Viba is saying, if you want, I could say another explanation. Here's what Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya was saying. Ha'anod desvirally Rabbi Yossi Aglili. I hold like Rabbi Yossi Aglili, the Amar Monet Suri, who says that it's a Monet Suri. V'ha de Misadi Bach, and here are the witnesses. They're testifying in terms of what happened. Zil Havle Monet Suri. Go and give him a Monet Suri. That could be another explanation of what Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya was saying. And the Gemara continues, V'sava Rabbi Akiva de'ein Eid Nasa Dayan. Does Rabbi Akiva really hold that a witness cannot become a judge? That's what he said in the above Brisa. Vatanya, but we learned in a Brisa, the pasuk says, "V'hiko ishes re'ehu be'evan o be'egrof." It says that one man strikes his friend with a stone or with his fist. Shimon Hatimni Omer. Shimon Hatimni says, "Ma'egrof miyucha." Just like a fist is unique, shemasur le'eda ula edim. That it's something that can be inspected not only by the edim, by the witnesses, but also by the eda, by the assembly. Meaning to say, when the person is brought in front of Bezin, they can inspect the person's fist. Afkol shemasur le'eda ula edim. So too, anything that's being judged in this situation has to be able to be brought not only in front of the edim, but also in front of the eda, in front of the assembly. That comes to exclude a situation where it leaves the hand of the edim, meaning if the edim were not actually able to bring in the stone for the bezin to inspect, then the bezin is not able to prosecute. That's Shimon Hatimni's understanding. Amar lo Rabbi Akiva, so Rabbi Akiva said back to Shimon Hatimni, V'chi b'fnei bezin hiko. Did this whole thing happen when he hit him? Did he hit him in front of bezin? Sheyodin Kamma hiko, that they know exactly how strong the force of the hit was. V'al mohiko, and where did he hit him? In malshoko or tzipor nafsho, was it on his thigh or was it by the lobe of his heart? V'yodin further, harei es chavero meirosh hagag. Let's say a person pushes his friend off the top of a roof, or meirosh habiro, or off the top of a building. V'meis, and the person dies. Bezin holchen eitzel bira. Do you think that Bezin has to go to the building? O bira holeches eitzel Bezin, and you have to bring the building to the Bezdin. V'yodin further, im naflo. Let's say the building falls. Chozer ubona. Do we have to go rebuild it to inspect it? Obviously, none of this is true, and that means to say that the Bezdin, the judges, have to rely on what the witnesses tell, even in terms of the stone. And so rather, elama egrof miyuchad shumasr la'edim, all it means is just like a fist is unique, that it's something given over to the edim, that the edim can see, afkal shumasr la'edim, so to any time, as long as the edim can see, let's say the stone that is being used, that would exclude a situation where the stone left the hand of the person, of the assailant, where the Eidim were not able to see it. So only in that situation, pater, only then is it pater, but the Bezin does not have to see all of these various details of the incident. And so the Gemara says, Katani mihas, but nevertheless, what does it say over here in this brisa? It says, Amar lo Rabbi Akiva, that Rabbi Akiva says to him, V'chi b'fnei Bezin hiko, that this incident happened in front of Bezin, sheyodin Kamma hiko, that they know how much he struck him. So therefore it sounds like, ha'iko b'fneim, it sounds like if the incident, he would strike him in front of them, in front of the Bezdin, Eid nasadayin, it sounds like Rabbi Akiva saying that the Eid, the witness, could become a judge. That in this situation, if the Bezdin were to witness the incident, they could be the judges. That contradicts Rabbi Akiva before. And the Gemara says to that, L'dvar of the Rabbi Shimon Hatimni Kamar, this was just an argument that Rabbi Akiva was making in accordance with what Rabbi Shimon Hatimni said. He was responding to Rabbi Shimon Hatimni's position, however, v'lei lo svirale, but he doesn't actually hold like that, meaning Rabbi Akiva does not actually hold Eid Nasadayin. That was just what he was utilizing to argue with Shimon Hatimni. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, shor tam shehemis v'hizik, if you have a shor that's a tam, and it kills a person and then it causes damage, the halach is done in oso din and nefashos, we judge it in terms of the capital case, that shor is going to be put to death, ve'in done in oso din mamanis, and we do not judge the monetary case, there's nothing that has to be paid for the damages. Rashi explains, Shehemis Adam ve'achar kein hizik, again, this short time killed a person, and then it caused damage. So the halach is, vein done in oso, dinei mamanis, there is no monetary case here. The tam ein meshalim ela migufa, because the tam you only pay from the body, from the animal itself. V'hareu niskal, and in this case, the animal is being stoned, the animal is being put to death, and therefore there's going to be no judgment of the monetary case in the situation of a tam. And the Brisa continues, muad shehemis. Let's say you have a situation of an animal that's a muad that kills a person. V'hizik, and then it causes damage. So over there, the payment is not made from the animal itself. It's made min ha'aliyah. It's made from the property of the owner of the animal. So they're done in oso dinei mamana. So there first we judge the monetary case. V'chozrin v'don in oso dinei nefashos. And then we judge the capital case. And in that situation, you're able to collect from the owner in terms of the damages. And the Gemara continues, Kadmu v'danu dina nefashos. Now let's say they first ended up doing the dina nefashos first, and they judge that they have to put the animal to death. So then, ein chozer v'danu so dina mamanis. Then the Brisa says, we do not judge the monetary case at this point in time. The animal has already been put to death. And Rashi says, v'chozrin v'danin oso dinei nefashos, again by a muad, after we do the dinei mamanis, then we do the dinei nefashos, meaning to say, u'mashalim min ha'aliyah, because the payment over there is min ha'aliyah. Again, it's from the best of the person's property, and therefore in such a situation, you would be able to judge the dinei mamanis, and again, then you do the dinei nefashos. But if you do the dinei nefashos first, it said you're not able to judge the dinei mamanis. And so the Gemara now asks, v'chi kadmu v'danu dinei nefashos. But if they did go ahead and judge the dinei nefashos first on the animal that's a muad, my have what difference does that make? Lahadir v'ladainei nami mamanis. Why not go ahead and judge the monetary case as well? Why is it that just because you judge the dinei nefashos case first, you can no longer judge the case that's dinei mamanis? And the Gemara says, Amar Rava says, Ashkechatinu l'Rabbanan devei Rav, I found the Rabbanan of the yeshiva of Rav, the Yasvi v'Kamri, that they were sitting, and they were saying as follows, Hamani, who is the author of this brisa that says that when you do the dinei nefashos, it's already too late, you can't do the dinei mamanis? It's Rabbi Shimon Hatimni. It's Rabbi Shimon Hatimni that we just said above. Again, Rabbi Shimon Hatimni, who said above that the judges, that the bezin has to be able to see the stone that caused the damage to evaluate it. The Amar, because again, Rabbi Shimon Hatimni says, Ma'egrof miyuchad, just like a fist is unique, shemasr la'eda ula'edim, that it can be given over to the assembly and to the witnesses. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Aleph Amud Aleph.